Decision 2018 coverage is presented by IT&E. Explore your world.
Welcome back to the One Guam Gubernatorial Debate on Decolonization, streaming live at the University of Guam Calvo Fieldhouse. We will now begin the second round of the debate. The order to respond to the main question and rebuttal will be in reverse order from round one. Candidates, are you ready? The main respondent will have 2 minutes to answer. The remaining candidates will have 1 minute to rebut. The first main question will be for Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio. Will the question panelist randomly select a question from the secured box labeled Round 2? Question panelists, you may begin.
Question B3. How will you address the impacts on social services from Compact of Free Association migrants?
One more time, please.
How will you address the impacts on social services from Compact of Free Association migrants?
First of all, every one of us appreciate those who have come to our island who are seeking better opportunities, whether it be Pohnpeian, Chuukese, Palauan, or any other ethnicity. Those individuals who come back from the individuals or the states from the Compacts of Free Association are looking for opportunities to be able to advance their families and their lives. We appreciate that. Our island are the most hospitable, generous, spiritual, and loving people the Chamorros have always been, and we embrace them. We've married into their families, and we help them. But we need to settle the injustice, which is the compact impact. We're estimated about $140 million a year that we pour into social services, education, public safety, and other issues that we need to be able to make sure that our federal government owns up to. My children and many others in this community have become productive members of our community, serving our military and continue to defend our country and our island. When we look at the injustices really are the people, the taxpayers on Guam, who foot the bill. But we do it knowing that we're helping our brothers from different places, different islands. The injustices that we need to continue to address are those with the Washington, D.C. delegate, of course, our House of Representatives, and the Senate. Defraying the cost, which is the term phrased in the Compacts of Free Association, have not been realized. I will continue to work with the Senate and, of course, the House of Representatives and our delegate and our congressional delegate in Washington, D.C., to make sure that we bring these issues to the United States. Hawaii was unsuccessful in doing it, and many other states have also talked about the inequities of the finances. We get about $16 million a year, need about 140. They talk about the formula not being accurate. We'll work with them to be able to work on that formula to make sure we get the funds. Because, ladies and gentlemen, our people and all the people on Guam understand the needs of our migrants who are coming here. And we need to get the funding. The federal government's responsible for it. We'll bring it, and as governor, Tony and I will get those injustices justified. Thank you.
Thank you. For the rebuttal, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. First, we will start with former Senator Lou Leon Guerrero.
The people that come here from our neighboring islands come here because they want to be educated, they want to work, and they want to do healthcare. They want to better their lives, just like we want to better our lives. And certainly, they have impacted our social services. They have impacted our healthcare, they've impacted our education, our public safety. What I would do is I will work with each of the island nations' leaders. I have a good working relationship with them Bank of Guam has branches in every one of them. They know me, I know them. We have the respect of each other. I will work with them to see what they can do to help minimize the impact here. I will work hard towards a regional healthcare insurance also, which will allow them to have healthcare in our island. So it's a spirit of cooperation, relationships, and respect.
Thank you. Next, we have former Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez. You may begin.
Thank you. The meager reimbursement by the federal government is not through the fault of the compacts of free association. It is our fault. It's our fault here because we never turn in the right figures. We only turn in the negative impact of the people that are here and not giving the positive impact that the compact of free association provides for the people of Guam. The first thing I will do is sit down with Department of Interior and State Department and ask for a collaborative effort to find someone that can be sent out here to go ahead and find out what that real impact is. Take the positive and the negative and come out with something the federal government will pay. Maybe I challenge the University of Guam School of Economics to undertake a study and not just say, hey, it cost me $140 million to do this, but how about all the positive things that they're providing for this territory? If I was the federal government, I'd be asking for the same thing.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Frank Uggan Jr. You may begin.
You know, when you listen to the numbers, we receive as a community $16.8 million, of which the estimated cost is $140 million. Who is absorbing all of that additional cost? It is our taxpayers, the people of Guam. So we need to continue to fight and request, insist, and work with our congressional representative so that in fact she can increase that amount. Secondly, there's a renegotiation of the compact impact arrangement. My understanding is in 2024. Guam needs a seat at that table because we are receiving a tremendous amount of impact in terms of our migrants. But let me say this much also. The people of Guam and the Chamorros here on our island have always been welcoming. We don't fault anyone if they want something better for their lives. But if in fact there's a treaty or a compact that says we will be fully reimbursed, then we need to pursue those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Dennis Rodriguez Jr. You may begin.
You know, I look at it differently. You know, it's not just the negative impacts that our brothers from Micronesia, brothers and sisters, bring to our island. It's the positive impacts. You look at them, they're everywhere. They've integrated into our community, are working in our stores, in our restaurants, and working in a lot of different businesses on Guam. One thing that we have to do is think outside the box. I've passed a law that expands health insurance for our people and also takes into account our Micronesian brothers and sisters. If you take a look at the law, which is the Guam, the Healthcare para Todo Health Plan, it has a component there, it's called the Manelu Plus. What that is that working with the governments of Micronesia, getting them to come on board because they receive compact impact funding as well. All it is to reprogram some of their funds to help us be able to take care of their needs, whether it be health insurance, education. I've talked to the governor of Chuk, Governor Ilimo, and so this is one of the things that we're working on. If I'm governor, we're going to ensure that we execute my law that I just established. It's Masi.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. Now, the second main question will be for Senator Frank Uggan Jr., who will have 2 minutes to respond. Will the question panelists randomly select a question from the secured box labeled Round 2? Question panelists, you may begin.
Question B4. In the Davis versus Guam case,
The 14th and 15th Amendments deemed the plebiscite as unconstitutional. What are your thoughts on the Native Inhabitant Registry?
Thank you very much for that question. You know, it goes back to part of my opening statement earlier. Self-determination is not an issue of equality, but of equity. One. Secondly, not everyone was exposed to the collective harm of colonialism. And in this case, the Davis case, Guam is appealing that particular decision. As governor of Guam and as chairman of the Commission on Decolonization, I will support that appeal process. If we have to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, then I will support that endeavor. It all comes back to equity and allowing the native inhabitants of Guam to be able to make that decision of self-determination. Now, if it doesn't work in the U.S. Supreme Court, there are some external avenues available to the people of Guam in terms of looking at the Organization of American States to see if in fact they can render direct support and assistance to us. In addition to that, we can also reach out to the United Nations Human Rights Council because they also recognize that decolonization is not about equality, it is about equity. It is about ensuring that the native inhabitants of Guam, as defined in Public Law 23-147, by virtue of a date of demarcation in 1950, the passage of the Organic Act, and which was also recognized by the U.S., that that particular date of demarcation is what we are utilizing for the definition of the inhabitants of Guam. But it all comes back to recognizing that the native inhabitants of Guam need to have and proceed with the decolonization and the self-determination process.
Thank you. For the rebuttal, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. First, we will start with former Senator Lou Leon Guerrero. You may begin.
First of all, I want to make it very clear that I support the Native Inhabitants' self-determination vote. The Davis case is about racial discrimination. It says racial voting. There is nothing in the laws of Guam nor in federal statutes that refer to this as a racial vote. It is a vote to correct an injustice that has been on us for many, many, many years. We have been a colony. We have lost almost our race. We died. We were disunited with the Marianas Islands. Why? Because we were a colony. If the Davis case goes forward, I have every confidence Julian Uggan will win the case. So let's all work together and support him.
Thank you. Next we have former Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez. You may begin.
Thank you very much. It seems like we're already losing with that argument at every court. I suggest that why do we need to have the government, have the people make their wishes known? If I was governor, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say, let's do a petition. We don't have to put it into law. Let's have a petition. If you want independence, let's go out and get the people to sign independence or status quo or whatever you choose. But let the people decide that on their own through a petition form. Nobody's going to challenge you in court. Take that and present it to the Congress of the United States, who has purview over the territories. That's how you do it. Think outside the box. Never mind arguing that the Organic Act said this or Organic Act said that. We're losing on that argument. So let's find an argument that we cannot lose on. Let the people stand up and let the people speak by signing their name on a petition saying, Congress, this is where we want to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio. You may begin.
Boganora, it is time for us to finally put this to bed. This is not about an injustice. This is about correcting an injustice. 400 years, 300 years under Spanish colonial power, 100 years on the United States. The people, the indigenous people, the Chamorros, those who were made United States citizens by virtue of the Organic Act, those are the ones who need to decide. Yes, we need to go to Congress and see whether or not they will pass a bill that will allow the Chamorros to do this on their own. But we'll also fight it to the Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen. We will fight it to the highest court, to the United Nations. We will talk to our friends, everybody we can talk to. But ladies and gentlemen, it comes about building relationships and building a case for Guam. We all know the injustices that Chamorros have suffered for 400 years. It's time for them to decide on their own. I will push this as governor. Tony Ada and I, you've been at the legislature. Governor Calvo, he's been at the United Nations. As well as Tony, he's been at the United Nations. And Amanda Bloss is there. We will make it happen.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Dennis Rodriguez Jr. You may begin.
Sijus Masi, as governor of Guam, it's going to be my responsibility to uphold the law. Whether what happens in the Ninth Circuit, if it's taken up in the Supreme Court, is my role to ensure that the law of the land is upheld. However, it may be our time as well now to take a look at the other options I talked about, thinking outside the box and see how we can get our people, our native inhabitants, their right to self-determination, their voices heard. Because you know that in a Rodriguez Cruz administration, you will have your voices heard. But we're going to find out how we can make that happen, regardless of what happens with the Davis case. Sijus Masi.
Thank you. We thank all our candidates for their responses. After a short 3-minute commercial break, we will return and continue round 2 of the One Guam Gubernatorial Debate on Decolonization. Please stay with us.
Decision 2018 coverage is presented by IT&E. Explore your world.